Imagine waking up one morning to find that every European had been replaced by an entirely different people. The cities still stand, the paintings still hang, and the tools and homes remain untouched, but the hands that built them are gone, their genetic fingerprints erased from existence. It sounds like science fiction, a nightmare of sudden disappearance and replacement. Yet this isn't imagination. It truly happened once, not to modern humans, but to another kind of human who walked this earth long before us, the Neanderthals. Deep in the mountains of northern Spain lies a cave called Galería de las Estatuas, part of the ancient caste system of Sierra de Atapuerca. Inside its quiet chambers, scientists uncovered a mystery frozen in time, traces of not one, but two separate generations of Neanderthals, each replacing the other. Their bones had vanished, their tools still scattered on the cave floor. What remained was invisible, fragments of DNA hidden in the very dirt itself. This dirty DNA, pulled from dust and sediment, has opened a revolutionary window into the deep past, a way to read history when no bones survive. What happened here? How could an entire Neanderthal people vanish, only for another to take their place? The answers lie buried in the soil, waiting to be told. For most of modern science, the story of ancient humans was told through bones and teeth, fragile relics that could survive only under the rarest conditions. Every fossil was a miracle, every fragment a clue. Yet bones are easily lost to time. Heat, moisture, and pressure erase them faster than history can remember. In the case of the Galería de las Estatuas cave, only a single toe bone of a Neanderthal had ever been found, a piece so small and precious that scientists dared not destroy it in search of DNA. For decades, that tiny bone was all we had. The rest of the cave, its stone tools, the animal bones marked by ancient knives, its thick layers of earth remained silent. We could guess who lived there, but we could never hear their story. Then, in 2021, that silence was broken. A group of researchers discovered that the ground beneath their feet was not just dirt, it was a genetic archive. Within the fine grains of sediment lay microscopic fragments of DNA, shed by long-gone inhabitants through hair, skin, blood, and even waste. These invisible traces had bonded to minerals in the soil, waiting tens of thousands of years for someone to listen. When the scientists extracted and sequenced this dirty DNA, the results were astonishing. The cave floor itself spoke. It revealed not one, but two distinct Neanderthal populations that had called this place home at different times. From the soil, they recovered both mitochondrial DNA, the maternal line, and fragments of nuclear DNA, enough to sketch a genetic portrait of entire communities that left no bones behind. This discovery changed everything. Archaeology was no longer confined to what stone and bone could tell. The earth itself had become a witness, capable of preserving the voices of people long vanished. Every layer of sediment became a page in a book written by time, and for the first time, scientists could read it without destroying the fragile remains it protected. The ground beneath the Galería de las Estatuas was no longer silent, it was speaking in code, whispering the history of life and death. And what that code revealed went far beyond a few sequences of DNA. It told of disappearance, replacement, and renewal, the rise and fall of entire peoples, written in the dust. As scientists sifted deeper into the cave floor, the story written in the soil began to divide into two chapters separated by time. The lower layers, laid down more than 110,000 years ago, carried a genetic signature linked to a population known from far away in Germany, the Hohenstein-Stadel lineage, or HST. These were early Neanderthals, the first Europeans who had taken root in the forests of Spain during a warmer interglacial world. They were strong and broad-shouldered, yet their bodies still held traces of an older ancestry. Their chests were wide but not yet barrel-shaped, their limbs powerful but not stocky, their noses projecting but not flared. They hunted red deer and wild cattle beneath canopies of oak and pine, their lives shaped by mild seasons and green valleys. In the light of that gentler age, they were the masters of a Europe in bloom. Then, as the scientists moved upward through the layers of sediment, the DNA changed abruptly. Around 100,000 years ago, the warm forests retreated and the air grew colder. In their place came another genetic signature, one tied to Neanderthals from Skladina in Belgium, Vindiha in Croatia, and Mesmaiskaya in the Caucasus. This new group was built for ice. Their limbs were shorter, their bodies heavier, their lungs housed inside deep, rounded chests. Their faces carried wide, high noses designed to warm freezing air before it reached the lungs. These were the cold-adapted Neanderthals of the north and east, pushing westward into Iberia as the climate shifted. The difference between the two populations was more than genetic, it was visible in every bone and imagined in every breath. The earlier people had thrived in temperate forests, their world one of soft rains and plentiful game. The newcomers belonged to open steppe and snow, to harsh winds and endless winters. If these two groups had ever met on the slopes above Atapuerca, they might have looked at each other and known instantly that they came from different worlds. Why did one vanish while the other endured? The answer may lie in the rhythm of the Ice Age itself. As the interglacial warmth faded, oak and pine gave way to grass and frost. The HST lineage, tuned to gentler climates, likely dwindled as their forests disappeared. From the north and east, the cold-hardened Neanderthals expanded into their empty territories, perhaps not through war, but through time and survival. A slow tide of replacement, driven by environment and numbers. What makes this discovery remarkable is not just the change of climate, but the change of identity. For the first time, scientists could see one Neanderthal population replacing another, a story of extinction and renewal, written long before Homo sapiens ever reached Europe. It revealed that Neanderthals, too, had their own migrations, their own winners and losers, their own history of loss and persistence. The earth beneath Galería de las Estatuas had captured the moment when one people's story ended and another began. The layers of earth inside Galería de las Estatuas don't just record the passing of people, they record the turning of the planet itself. Around 100,000 years ago, the warmth that had filled Europe began to fade. Glaciers advanced from the north, and the rhythm of the seasons hardened into long winters and brief, reluctant summers. Forests of oak and pine that once covered the Iberian hills shrank back, replaced by open grasslands swept by cold winds. In this changing world, food sources shifted and habitats vanished. For the Neanderthals of southern Europe, it was more than a change of scenery, it was a crisis of survival. Climate studies show that carbon dioxide levels and average temperatures fell sharply during this period, reshaping the ecosystems that had once nourished the earlier HST lineage. Herds of grazing animals roamed the widening steppes, while dense forests so vital to the old hunters became scattered islands of green. As the landscape transformed, so too did the people who lived upon it. Evolution worked quietly but relentlessly, sculpting new bodies for a colder earth. The later Neanderthals who replaced the older group carried the marks of that transformation in their bones. Their bodies were shorter, their limbs more compact, their muscles thick and powerful. Their noses widened and lengthened, acting as natural heaters to warm the frigid air before it reached their lungs. Their rib cages expanded into deep barrels to house large lungs capable of fueling endurance in the freezing climate. This was Allen's rule in action, the biological principle that animals in cold regions evolve shorter limbs to conserve heat. Where the older Neanderthals had been shaped by forests and warmth, the new ones were carved by ice and wind. One could almost imagine them, the northern kind, squat and broad like living furnaces, and the southern kind, leaner, more at ease beneath trees than on tundra. But climate was not the only force at play. Demography mattered too. Neanderthal populations were small and scattered, their genetic diversity thin. A downturn in birth rates, a disease, or a bad winter could erase a lineage forever. A group arriving from the north or east, more numerous, more mobile, might simply have outlasted the locals. Replacement, in that sense, needed no war, only time. This cycle of adaptation and loss is not unique to Neanderthals. It is a rhythm written through all of human history. Species, cultures, and civilizations rise and fall with the shifting climate, the movement of people, the slow, endless turning of the earth. No one is permanent. Not even those who once ruled a continent of ice and stone. The discovery at Galería de las Estatuas did more than rewrite a chapter of prehistory. It changed the way we listen to the earth itself. For centuries, bones and artifacts had been the only storytellers of the ancient world. But bones crumble, and tools are mute. What the new science of sediment DNA revealed is that the ground beneath us remembers in ways stone never could. Every grain of soil holds echoes of breath, touch, and movement, the microscopic traces of lives long gone. The earth, in silence, keeps what flesh forgets. From just a few dozen known Neanderthal fossils, scientists can now reconstruct the genetic history of an entire continent. DNA recovered from cave sediments has opened a new frontier in human origins research, allowing us to trace migrations, replacements, and family ties that no skeleton could ever reveal. It is as if the soil itself had been quietly recording the footsteps of humanity, waiting for science to develop the language to read it. This method has not only expanded our understanding of who the Neanderthals were, but also reshaped our view of what it means to leave a trace behind, to be remembered not by monuments, but by molecules. Yet the story of Estatuas is not simply about disappearance. It is about continuity, the passing of existence from one form to another, from living body to the dust that preserves its memory. Each layer of dirt is a page in the invisible book of our species, written not in words, but in the code of life. And perhaps, if we listen closely enough, the very ground beneath our feet still whispers the stories of those who walked before us, reminding us that time never truly buries the past, it only folds it deeper into the earth. The cave of Galería de las Estatuas has changed how we see the Neanderthals forever. Once imagined as a single, static species frozen in time, they now emerge as a people with their own migrations, struggles, and extinctions no less complex than our own story. Their world was not quiet. It pulsed with change, with loss, with renewal. The dirt beneath that Spanish mountain proved that even without bones or monuments, their lives still speak through the language of DNA. It reminds us that no people lasts forever. What endures are the traces, the memories etched into earth and stone, into the genetic code that carries whispers of every generation before us. One day, long after we are gone, someone may dig into the ground we walk on today and read our story the same way we read theirs. The earth keeps every life. It forgets nothing. If you love stories of our ancestors and the deep origins of humanity, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Join me as we keep uncovering the hidden chapters of our past, buried beneath the soil, waiting to be told once more.